Let's move on to the other major geopolitical event. BRICS leaders, they're all set to gather in Brazil to attend the 17th BRICS summit, which will be held from the 5th of July to the 8th of July. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his five-nation tour, is set to attend the summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin will be skipping it. While this is Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit to Brazil, this is his first state visit to the country. Moreover, this visit is of great significance for India and Brazil, since leaders of both nations expect to sign MOUs around counter-terror, renewable energy and other areas. India and Brazil trade ties run deep. Let's take a look now at the bilateral trade between both nations, which is around $12 billion in 2023-2024. While India's exports to Brazil were around $7 billion, India's imports from Brazil stood at $5 billion. To know more about the BRICS summit and also the next steps in the India-Brazil ties, I spoke to Dinesh Bhatia, India's ambassador to Brazil, and I started by asking him about the major focus areas for the BRICS summit this time around. Listen in.
As you know, the BRICS summit is going to be taking place in the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil on 6th and 7th of this month. And Prime Minister Honorable Narendra Modi ji will be participating in the summit. The focus of this summit, as per the host, is peace, security, and global governance. You may recall that your global governance reform was the main issue why BRICS was formed, and there's going to be a lot more discussion on global governance reforms in this summit. And of course, as part of the summit, they will be also talking about multilateralism, economic and financial affairs, artificial intelligence, as well as COP30, which is going to be taking place in November this year in Brazil. So it's going to be a summit with multi-focus and, of course, participation of several leaders.
In terms of furthering trade settlements in local currencies, what can we expect from the discussions? What is it that India is preparing to emphasize during the summit, sir?
As far as the trade settlement is concerned, BRICS is a useful platform, but we are far away from reaching a consensus on this. And this is an ongoing discussion. We not only discuss this at the BRICS platform, but we are also discussing bilaterally with several other countries. You know, India has, or RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, has already started a rupee vostro scheme for settlement of trade payments in Indian rupees. So we are pursuing with these objectives, and but of course we are far away from reaching settlement with many countries.
I would also like to ask you about the optics of it all. You've got President Putin, President Xi, who will be skipping the BRICS meeting. Does this somehow undermine the BRICS process?
I think we should not take this absence in a serious matter, because President Putin will be represented by his foreign minister, and from China, the Prime Minister of China will be participating in the BRICS summit. Our Prime Minister has consistently participated in the summit, and the Brazilian President too. So there are other leaders now. BRICS is an expanded group. There are other leaders participating. So there will be a discussion and we will reach a consensus on several issues, as we have done in the past in BRICS summits.
Okay. Also, in terms of increasing trade with Brazil, what can we expect in the coming years, and what will be the push this time on a bilateral basis, sir?
Wonderful. You see, Prime Minister, after the BRICS summit, will be making a state visit to Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, on 7th and 8th of July. And he's going to have a bilateral talks with the President Lula. Our Prime Ministers have visited. Prime Minister Modi's, this will be the fourth visit to Brazil. He has earlier made 2 visits for BRICS summits and 1 visit for the G20 summit last year. And this time, this will be the first state visit of Prime Minister Modi to Brazil. The trade has expanded. We had reached a level of $15 billion in 2023, which then slightly came down to about $12 billion. And of course, as you know, Brazil is one of the largest exporter of commodities. And when the prices are varying in the commodity market, the trade figures are impacted. But the trade is very robust. India enjoys a trade surplus at this point of time with Brazil. But trade is sort of evenly divided between the two countries in this $12 billion trade last year. We have a huge trade basket of exports to Brazil. Brazil has more focus items. I would say now energy has become one of the major focus of Brazilian exports to India. India has invested also in the oil and gas sector in Brazil. We have this BPRL, it's a subsidiary of BPCL India, and also ONGC Videsh Limited. Both the state sector companies have invested in oil fields in Brazil. So with all this multi-sectoral cooperation happening between Brazil and India, the trade is set to see a rise, a significant rise in next few years, I would say. And the relationship as such has become very robust. It is broadened with the inclusion of several sectors. As a matter of fact, there are not less than 50 Indian corporates which have a strong presence in Brazil. So I think we are looking at a very positive future.
All right. I would also like to ask you about further defense manufacturing collaboration, because currently, after Operation Sindoor, India's focus is on technology transfer, joint manufacturing and collaboration. Are we going to see some movement on that front with Brazil?
Yes, there is already a movement. Things are happening at the ground level. There's a cooperation between private sector companies of India and Brazil, as well as the government sector companies are looking at more collaboration with Brazil. Brazil has a fairly advanced arms and ammunition industry. In fact, two of them from the private sector have already gone to India, and they have their local Indian partners, and eventually they are going to start manufacturing in India, which is part of the Make in India plan of Prime Minister Modi's government. And besides this, there are several Indian companies which are exploring collaborations, be it in the form of manufacturing or in the form of trade with the defense industry of Brazil. As a matter of fact, I met Defense Minister of Brazil yesterday, and we have discussed. There are several institutions, there are several mechanisms that we have created. There is a joint defense committee which is likely to meet soon in next few weeks, and then we have a 2+2 military political dialogue which will also happen probably in the month of August. And both these dialogues are going to deepen the defense partnerships and defense industry partnerships.
The rare earth magnet crisis, this is something that all nations are grappling with due to restrictions imposed by China, which is the majority producer, the largest producer of rare earth magnets in the world. Is India likely to raise this during the meeting, and would you want some sort of discussion on this crisis as well?
You say rare earths, critical minerals, this is a subject of focus for Government of India, and we are pursuing bilateral collaborations with the several countries around the world, particularly with Brazil. You know, the size of Brazil is more than 2.5 times the size of India, and Brazil has plenty of availability of rare earths and also critical minerals. And several Indian companies are already in Brazil exploring collaborations or direct mining of these materials. But as you know, the mining projects are long gestation projects, and they will take their own time. But in the meantime, the Indian companies have already made a start and started talking to the provinces, the states of Brazil. Once again, like in India, like in many other democratic countries, the provinces own the resources. So in this case, the Brazilian states own the resources, and our companies are directly in contact with them. This is a subject which has to be discussed bilaterally, and we are pursuing our interest in Brazil.
Right. Finally, sir, if you could give us a sense of maybe the top 2-3 agreements that could be signed at the end of this BRICS summit, and also bilaterally between India and Brazil.
On the bilateral side, I would like to comment that we are looking at the possibility of signing an MOU on cooperation in counterterrorism, the other one on the renewable energy, and there are a couple of other agreements on exchange of classified information, and these are being finalized, and we are hoping to close all this before the arrival of the Prime Minister so that they could be signed. And there is also agricultural research MOU between Indian Council of Agriculture Research and its counterpart EMBRAPA, which is also going to be signed. So we are looking at all these agreements to be finalized before the arrival of Prime Minister so that they could be signed during the visit.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bhatia, for telling us all about the BRICS summit and the India-Brazil bilateral meeting as well. We're taking a break.